So you're now you're under oath now.
I have nothing more to say. Mum's the word.
Yeah. Well, let me
Microphone's a little hot.
call this meeting to order. September 4th, 2021 Peninsulaires Board meeting. All right. First thing I want to do is to correct or add to the agenda. I goofed up. I left one important thing off, and that was the good of the order. We can never escape our meeting without giving a good of the order. And then also Elliot brought up just recently the question about the picnic and who we're going to invite, the scope of who we're going to invite. So we probably should discuss that as well today. So first thing is Paul's minutes for the last meeting. Has everybody had a chance to peruse them?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions about them? All right. All that have approved Paul's meetings, raise your hand. Okay, they are approved.
Was there a second and a motion and a second, or?
Oh, you would, yeah. Thank you for making me true to what I should be doing. Okay, who approves?
A motion to approve
Motion
the
to approve.
the meeting minutes from last month.
Okay,
Second.
and a second.
Second.
All right. Those who approve, raise your hand. All right. Okay, first, Dave Morley, Treasurer's Report.
Yes, the treasurer's report, if you look at the summary report, got some dues. We did renew the DBA. This has to happen I think every 5 years. So we have multiple DBAs, but the one that came up for renewal is Palo Alto Mountain View chapter of Barbershop Harmony Society. Just to be clear, our legal name is Palo Alto Mountain View chapter SPEBSQSA Inc. So now we have a DBA of Palo Alto Mountain View chapter BHS. So that's gone. Dave ordered some music. Larry ordered 10 more masks and the microphone. The director fee, you might notice that it kind of overlaps between 20 and 21, which means that the budget on the next page is going to be slightly different. So we have to keep that in mind. We did get a performance of $200 for performance at Sunny View, I think. I put Sunny Vale, but I think it's Sunny View. We do have a chapter phone number, if you remember, and
Yes.
that comes up for yearly renewal and gets charged my credit card. So I get to pay myself $54.27 for that. Larry has some new lights, $944. And on the next page on the budget, I stuck it under cabaret because we really ordered it for cabaret. So now it's really a property and it'll be spread out over years and years, but this year's cabaret gets to pay for it because we don't really accrue things over years. So we paid a BMI fee, cabaret, and we got all of $7.77 in Google money this month.
Yeah, Dave, did you ever ask the guys, Mark and Blez, if they've submitted their stuff because all the work they did back in February?
No,
I mean, I've asked them a couple of times and they said, yeah, we're going to get that in. But I don't know if they've done that yet because, man, the hours that they put into that for the chorus would have been a lot more than $7.32 worth of effort.
I couldn't agree more. No, I did not check with them. Next time I see him, I'll on Thursday night, I'll encourage them because you're right. That should be a big chunk.
Right.
Any other questions on the summary of the month? If
What
not,
is the
go on to the,
$1,000? Oh, that's for the what's it called? The community virtual course, the expenses.
PCVC?
Yeah, PCVC, the $1,000.
what's that? I don't,
In the budget, there's a under expenses virtual chorus. I see 1,000. I'm just curious. I don't.
I
Well,
haven't
that's the
spent any of that money.
post-processing, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, there's a virtual course for $1,000. I haven't. Let's go on to the budget then, since that came up. You can add, I've just updated it. And the bottom line is that we are about $5,000 down from the start of the year. That's not surprising because we didn't have a show in the spring and the show in the fall hasn't happened yet. And no, we haven't spent any of the money for the virtual course. I'm not sure, what that is. So, okay.
It's for,
Well,
actually-
I- Go ahead, John.
yeah, I can comment on that. That's actually for purchasing music, sheet music.
Hmm.
Essentially, there's no other expenses to that, but I purchased, I got the tracks and I got 4 copies of the sheet music. But right now we have about, well, I can report later, but there are 48 members and we need to get, copies of music for them or to, spend the money for that. Right. That's what it is.
Great. Dave, anything more?
Nothing more from me.
Well, I had a question on the ice cream social part of the fall show. What do we normally get in terms of profit, if any?
Well, when we had 2 shows back in 2019, we made $4,500. Let's see, look at that. Yeah, $4,500. In 2018, we made $4,100. This year, with only 1 show, in the afternoon, we usually don't get as many people in the afternoon. Who knows what we're gonna get? 1,000, 1,500 maybe.
Okay.
And with respect to that, if we break down the afternoon show and the evening show relative to anything associated with the cost to deliver during that activity, the afternoon show where we're giving people ice cream and whatever and cookies is less expensive to deliver on than the evening show where we had the lasagna and the salads and all that kind of stuff, because oftentimes we were getting the ice cream donated, right? So
Yes.
you end up with a situation where even if we only sell 200 tickets, our actual expenses associated with delivery are going to be less than they would be for the evening show. So,
However,
Yeah.
we will be purchasing ice cream this time.
Right, and it'll be individually wrapped. So.
Right.
yeah, probably
not
get
as
it what.
economical as big buckets of.
True. But I can get it at Costco or wherever we're going to get it. But it'll be. But I still think it'll be less costly than the evening show.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it'll be less.
Do we make a separate payment to the Elks for the use of the venue?
Yes, we will need to. I have been nudging them to say, could you please confirm what the cost is? Because we have to pay for the use of the venue for our picnic as well. And I've been sending the lady there an email every couple of weeks saying, hey, so what is this again? And I've asked Terry Blumenthal to track it down too, only he's now going to be out of town for a couple of weeks. He had something come up, some situation occur that he needs to be out of town. So he'll be gone for 2 weeks. So I can't tell you exactly what that number is. And I don't remember what we've paid in the
In the-
past. Dave Morley,
the
maybe
past-
you do?
In the past, it's been $150.
Okay. So if we pay $150, that'd be awesome. But I am just wanting to make sure they confirm that with me so there aren't any surprises.
Okay.
I did have a question. Because I know I just don't remember what they are. Because Dave, under program expenses, the budget called for 500 and right now there's 1393. Did you already explain that and I missed it?
No, I didn't explain it, and I would have to go back. I cannot. Let me dig into that and try to remember what the number is, or some of the things that we've been, well, no, let me be more specific. Let me look and see what they could have been. We haven't had that many expenses this year, so it'll be easy for me to, give me a few minutes and I'll.
Sure. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Hey, Dave, I chatted you a question as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, well, while we're waiting for Dave to get his data, then why don't we have Elliot, you want to give your development report?
Sure. Yeah, so I don't have a formal report this week, but I'm continuing to track attendance at our rehearsals. The last month, we've averaged 19 and a half people for the 4 last sessions. I think that's largely due to people having been out, including myself, for a week. But yeah, would still like to get those numbers up. I've been keeping our guests in the loop. Michael Sherman, Daniel, Matt, and our recent Michael Noor, Barry that was with us a few weeks ago, been reaching out personally to them. I have not been able to bring them back yet, which is too bad. I am sharing our weekly rehearsal plans with them. They have access to the online, the virtual guest book that's got our entire repertoire on it. So I'm doing what I can with that. I also occasionally get new people appearing on Meetup saying they will attend. I generally reach out to them, tell them we're really happy to have them and offer to answer any questions or anything, and they don't show. So it's a bit of a struggle. One thing I want to do is go through the like we now have 71 members, and I want to go through there are some that joined in 2018, 2019 that look like they could be good candidates. I've done some mass mailings through it, but I'm going to try individually messaging them. I tried following up on this Bay Area a cappella chat group, and I don't know, it's been a dead end. I joined it. I tried to, I did find our slot showing, I'm forgetting his, Steve Salmons as our director and wanted to change that. I don't have the privileges and tried to reach out to people who I thought might be able to give it to me, never heard back. So I'm not sure what to do with that.
I doubt it's worth much effort. I don't think anybody's really looking at it anyway.
I mean, I see everything that comes through on it. There's about 600 singers on it, last I checked. So
well, maybe I'm wrong. Okay.
Yeah. So Elliot, if you got something you want to post as a stopgap, send it to me and I can post it onto that site and just make sure that I can still send to it. I know I've sent to it in times past.
Okay, that's good. In that vein, there's just another thing that I've been thinking about, but I'm also thinking about timing. So I was thinking of, doing something on Nextdoor.
Yes.
Yes.
Is this a good time to try to attract guests en masse when we're kind of focusing on a performance that's about to happen?
Well, it's a good time for other people, I think, because like school is about to start and people are looking for things to do.
Do you think it's, I just want to kind of check with the board whether we think this is a good time.
Yeah, this gets into like marketing strategy. Like how often do we want to hit? What channels do we want to hit when? And like are we pushing like is there a current push for membership, or is it to push show? So yeah,
I'm talking about the
I
membership.
understand. Sorry, go ahead, Elliot.
Sorry, I was just saying, I was thinking about the membership, although I think the show would be a good thing to push there as well. Maybe we combine them, maybe we do two separate.
So
Go ahead.
we're always either preparing for a show or preparing for a contest. Almost always. There's very little time when we're not. So I would say that as much as you could say that if someone's coming in that's for the first visit, is it a quote disruption unquote to what we're doing? We can manage that. Does it give them, what kind of impression does it give them? I think if they're seeing that we're intently working towards something, that's a positive.
Yeah.
I think the key is going to be making them feel enormously welcome and spending time with them while we're doing both during breaks and as much as you can buddying up with them on the risers when they're there to help them out. And if we do that, then I don't know that it makes a huge difference if we start bringing people in now versus saying right after the fall show. Mike C, any comment on that?
No, I think that's a really good point. We whenever a guest shows up, we need to be supportive of that. If we're doing specific guest-oriented programming, then it's even more special. Like we just don't do guest-oriented programming like a vocal clinic or something like 7 weeks before show. But if a guest is there, it is come on in. We're in onesie twosie mode right now. Yeah. So.
The way I've approached it with my little mailing list of previous guests whom I'm sending the rehearsal plans to, when the rehearsal plan refers to, we're going to do a run through of the entire repertoire without any stops, I worry that might scare them off. So the kind of thing I've done is to say that most of it, they could participate actively and they're welcome. And if there's a part where we're really running through the repertoire, we'd love their feedback, and it's a great opportunity for them to see the whole see the repertoire.
Yeah, and I think
how I've been approaching it.
I think it's mostly expectation setting. Like as long as we're being welcoming and like setting the expectations with the guests. Like quite frankly, if we're in the middle of a run through, and I have to adjust a little bit so that the guest is comfortable, I'm completely fine with that. The most important thing is that it's a welcoming and engaging experience for the guests. We're just not doing like any big bucket programming. So
how does the protocols work with guests coming in?
That's
Elliot?
There have been so Michael Sherman said he just doesn't want to sing with a mask, and a number of times I've kind of reached out about, we're now doing them outdoors, you don't need to wear masks, to people who've individually to me, like people who were going to attend that found us on Meetup and then last minute they bailed because they were worried about COVID. I kind of, replied back respectfully, I certainly understand your concerns, but, be aware that we are rehearsing outside now. So I'm doing what I can, but.
So do we let them know what our protocols are? That's in whatever, I mean, we want these people, if they're going to come, I think our expectation is that they will have been vaccinated and stuff like that.
Yeah, so there's a link to, like, when you click on that site, you see immediately that it mentions the protocol with a link to what it is.
Right. Cool.
Do we have any outreach to San Jose State, De Anza, Stanford, Santa Clara?
Good question.
No, I haven't instituted anything.
Because that's what I was thinking of. I mean, you were asking about the timing, and I was thinking, when people show up at a new school, sometimes they're looking for things to do. And then you get later on in the semester and they've found it and they're not going to look for new things. I don't know, just a thought.
Yeah, I'm not sure who I would reach out to.
Right, that's a problem.
So Elliot, just as a final statement regarding your initial question about whether or not it makes sense to use Nextdoor, I would say yes. No reason to pull back from using that vehicle as a an avenue of communication.
All right.
Elliot,
Give that a shot.
I have a question, Elliot. Did you say that we have 71 members officially, or?
In Meetup.
Oh, Meetup.
Yeah.
In Meetup?
Yes, so 71 people have joined our group over time.
Oh, have joined the Meetup group. Okay.
Yes.
What does that mean?
It doesn't mean all that much. I mean, it's a combination of people. First of all, Peninsulaires who've kind of responded to appeals over the years for us to join and to RSVP, as well as people who've, seen interest at some point. Some may have attended. So there are a number of people who've visited within the past few years that I'm thinking of reaching out to personally. And
You mean they showed up here, or they just looked at our site, looked at us on the site?
So I wouldn't know in all cases whether or not they've ever shown up. I mean, I know of the ones within, the past year. So they may have just visited or seen it and joined the group. But to me, that means they expressed an interest at some level.
Okay.
So there is an opportunity. I could send them a message and.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Elliot.
the way to think about the meetup is it's basically another potential guest mailing list. Like that's how I would think about it. There's probably a large number of some sort of active members or previous members on it, but it's just another small mailing list of potential guests.
Right, and I've addressed it as a mailing list without much result. So I was thinking of picking a few and reaching out to them individually.
Thanks, Elliot. Thanks, everybody. Let's move on.
I have one thing that's completely on a different vein, but it's tied to Elliot, and it has to do with Groupanizer. Elliot, I know of at least 2 people and a third who had a problem with receiving messages that are sent to them via Groupanizer to the announce name. I know Bruce Bunting mentioned to me on Thursday he hasn't been getting any of the emails that we've been sending out about what's going on. Mike C doesn't get them for some reason. I know Jerry Totes had a problem at one point and you came up with a potential solution. So I'm going to ask that maybe, touch base with at least Bruce and Mike and see what's going on. And maybe it's worth asking generally to the to the guys at a meeting if anyone is having any difficulty receiving the communications from Couponizer, and then see if you can figure out what to do about that.
Just be
Okay.
going to their spam folder, maybe?
No, I've looked all over the place.
Larry,
I
Larry,
know
you
that
have a-
in Jerry Toad's case, we solved it by him using a different email account.
Yeah, which sounds like
Weird.
weird. Yeah.
Spam.
Larry, you were gonna say?
Don't worry about Bruce Bunting. He gets the emails. He's going through a bad time right now. He's even asked me twice to come to his house and help him figure out how to use his system again. His system's
Okay.
working fine, so don't worry about Bruce.
Okay,
Okay.
and what was the other name?
Mike Kading.
Yeah, I haven't
Oh.
I haven't really received an announcement since August 8th at this point.
Huh.
So you didn't get the videos I sent last night, Mike?
No, I'm flying completely blind right now. And I'm on Gmail.
And you get members?
Give me 1 second. We don't have to troubleshoot this right now, but
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, let's try to troubleshoot
And
it offline.
let me answer a question that Dave asked a few minutes ago, and that is what about the program line. I included $875 in there that we spent on new masks and a microphone for Mike.
Ah, okay. Thank you.
That's a material.
Great. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Okay, moving along. Larry, you want to give a marketing report?
Sure. We've got right now it's all about preparation for the show. I'm doing periodic posts on our Facebook page. Jack Hale and I are bouncing. We're working drafts on the promo flyer, which as soon as we're finished with it, probably this afternoon. Once we get it to where we want it, I will get that started. I'll be doing a MailChimp campaign, a preliminary as it's written. We can make changes and updates later. Specifically, if we end up signing a headline quartet, I'll just add it there. In the final or the week before the show, I'll add that we have a special guest as well. Our website. Once I get this flyer, I'll be updating our website, because right now the homepage shows, we're back singing together, which is almost 3 months old. So I'll get that freshened up as well in the next day or so. Just moving forward with everything show. And I know it's not really.
Larry, I heard on Thursday night, what is the time of the cabaret that you're showing? I heard 2:00 and I've heard 3:00 before.
And I don't know if this is the right place to discuss it, because we don't have a line item to discuss show stuff. As of right now, it should be. It's a 2:00 show. 2:00 show. Doors open at 1.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought we had talked about doing 2 shows, like 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock, at the last 2 weeks ago.
What we've
Has that-
talked about is if we sell more than 250 or 300 tickets, or it looks like we're going to do that, then we're going to need a second show because of the capacity. But we have not said we're going to schedule 2 shows.
Okay, but at 2 o'clock precludes 2 afternoon shows, right? There's no way we could
2
do
and
2
4.
afternoon.
No, we could do it 2 and 4.
What, with 20 minutes in between shows?
Okay, we could do it
We're
2
aiming
and
for like a-
4:30. I don't even know what the timing is for the show. Again,
Okay.
this isn't the right forum. We
Why
could
not?
discuss this
Sure. Yeah.
offline, or we should be doing it in committee. But to
Yeah,
clear
Jerry
up,
should be involved in this too, right? Jerry's.
Yeah, I mean, we were all at that committee meeting a couple weeks ago, right? Okay. Yeah, let's figure that out.
We'll dial
fast.
that in. Okay. So
um,
Larry, do we have, you said, I think, I don't want to say this. I do believe you said that somewhere in the storage shed, there is a quantity of Peninsulaires cards.
yes.
Maybe can we this Thursday pull them out and make sure that everybody has some that might be
Sure.
helpful?
Sure. Is that also to help remind me that I forgot to pull it out for our farmers market show?
No, I didn't
Okay.
even remember that.
Yeah, because we have that A-frame that I made that has
Oh yeah, that too.
the
Yeah,
cards
yeah,
and
yeah.
our brochures, and I totally forgot to grab it the Thursday before our Saturday performance out there. So
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that the guys now have them, and because we're in scenarios where we might be able to let people know and pass
Yes.
those cards out. It can't hurt us.
yeah, we'll get them. We'll grab them Thursday. So that's all I've got. Like my focus is all about the show right now, and try and get as much information as I can, and make changes on the fly as necessary. I know what. There was one other thing, and I figure I'll ask Dave because you've been involved in this in the past. Dave K,
Mhm.
can you set up the ticket purchasing link? Do you do that normally, or does somebody else do it?
When we moved to the newest what domain host, whatever site is hosting our website,
Mhm.
Mark Tabry has taken that on and he sets that up. So Mark has been the guy. He did that for any purchases for Valentine's Day and stuff like
Okay.
that. So he's got that set up. So just check with Mark T
Okay.
and he'll
I'll
do it.
talk to Mark. Thanks, Dave. That's all I got, guys.
Thanks, Larry. John Wellness, you want to talk about program or?
Sure,
PCV?
well, so far it's been working fine. I mean, Dave and Mike O and Mike C get together and decide the program. That's and then they email me about any quartet activities that are going on. So that's fine. That works just fine. In terms of PCVC, there are 48 people who were signed up. We have had our first sessions. I will be asking you about, for those of you who volunteered, what you can do next week and start publishing schedules. This one, because I was gone, actually. I was in Denver for most of the week. I will be now setting up the schedule, weekly schedule to try and get people to come. I had one person though who did ask about the picnic, right? But the only one so far, and she lives in the East Bay, and she was going to bring her husband, which would have been a good thing, but I'm not sure, right now, and it depends on, on the decision to do. But at least if somebody is reading that, for those of you who aren't on the Facebook page, you can request to be on the Peninsulaires Community Virtual Chorus Facebook page and receive some information about what is going on, see some pictures of people who actually are attending sessions. And that's pretty much it, I think.
So
Thanks,
John, I have a question because I don't know where this fits in, if this falls under the realm that you would normally be responsible for. But when we look at either doing an outside activity like we do with Farmers Market, which ended up on my plate just because I didn't have any other idea where it would go, coordinating with the people. If we're going to do an external event, or if might be trying to get either us to visit some other course or some other course to visit us, does that fall under the program area of responsibility?
I would think that would. Generally these things come in, interestingly enough, to various places. I know Al Ward receives some communication, you do, Dave, as well, about the potential sing outs, whatever you want to call them. So yeah, I think that would be, in programming.
So really, what I'm hearing then, and I'm glad to hear this because it's sort of been a shotgun approach to how we deal with these things. When something like that is presented to anyone in the chapter, it ought to be channeled to you so that you can follow up and coordinate. Is that the idea?
That would be fine. Yeah.
Okay, then I think we ought to do that. That would make my life a lot easier. Okay, thank you.
Great. Okay, moving along. Music VP performance.
Yeah, so I sent out my write-up. And Dana, thank you for letting me know that the first time I mailed it for the wrong month. And I guess everybody has had a chance to look at that. Are there any questions?
Well, I have one. The date for the picnic on your report says.
Oh, I
11th.
put the wrong number. I did I put the wrong day? It's the 18th.
18th.
It says the 11th. It is the 18th. And while we've been on our meeting here, I did something I should have done a while ago. And I entered, maybe I did that already, the chapter picnic on the calendaring system and Groupanizer. And I also put the October 23rd performance, which was not on it. So now in attendance has been activated so that we can, that was something that Larry asked about the other day, and it was like, oh crap, yeah, I know, I forgot to put that on the calendar and to ask for guys to say whether or not they're going to be there. So yeah, so thank you for catching that, but no, it should be the 18th and not the 11th for the barbecue.
And what
All right.
time?
Oh, I put down 11 o'clock. If we get there, if we're done by, so that way you can get there and open things up, and people will probably start arriving around noon, but it takes what, half an hour, 45 minutes for charcoal to sort of like get to the point where you can grill. So I figured we'd get there, get some stuff set up, and then if people start arriving anytime after 11, we can sing and eat and party. And by 1 o'clock, we ought to be having, our meal. It's sort of like, I said 11 just because, there's some stuff to get. Usually we show up at these things and start getting set up and sing a bunch and then eat and then sing some more.
Well, speaking of the picnic, maybe now is the time to wedge in the question about who we should invite. Right now, it's just been, I think what you said, Dave, was just Peninsulaires and their families. And then Elliot brought up the question, do we want to include others? Is there some resistance to that?
I didn't realize, I admittedly hadn't read that yet when I sent. I mean, if we've agreed to this, and I thought we had sort of tentatively agreed, but hadn't really made it final to the point where we were going to ask people to resend their invitations, to be able to say the board made a decision and unfortunately, we decided it's only family members. And
So what about guests who've been coming or have?
I'm sorry?
What about guests who have attended at least one rehearsal?
I think the thing is, there was some conversation after the initial communication about we're having a picnic and we want to have people participate because it could even be a recruiting activity for us. It was after that initial outreach that we had the interactive discussion with members of the chapter that said, maybe we have to think about the COVID implications. We know who we are. We know we're all vaccinated. We have this confidence within our individual family units, blah, blah, blah. We don't know about anybody external. So we started to backtread on that. Personally, my thought is, I don't know that we ought to reach back out to people and say, oh, we changed our minds, you can't come. But I would say that if we don't remind somebody, the probability of them arriving is very low. So I would just kind of let it ride personally, but that's just my thought.
So one way to mitigate it then, that may not be a bad idea. One way to mitigate it is to make sure that people we invite know that there is a vaccine requirement.
Yeah.
So at least that, let's say, small subset of people that are thinking of attending, we'll put faith in them to make sure they adhere to the policy, just as we do with guests.
Right.
But I think we should focus on members, and the members know that we're all vaccinated. And if, I agree with Dave, if we've already invited someone, if we don't remind them, they're probably not going to come.
So, I mean,
Well-
sorry, go ahead.
You know, the picnic's always been kind of a, you know, just a membership kind of a thing where we get together as members and just, you know, celebrate as members. And I don't know that it was for guests or, you know, people who aren't members. And I just see what people think about that. I mean, you know, it seems like it's nice just to get together, you know, casually and not have to, you know, meet the, you know, people we don't know. You know, I don't know.
My feeling is, COVID aside, we should try and make this as much of a community event as we can, even if that's not something we've done in the past. So I mean, I really like the idea. I guess Mike injected it in me, and I thought it was a really good idea to kind of open our picnic up. I mean, we're still us, and having other people watching us interact and interacting with us, and, you know, would be a positive thing, I think, as far as community involvement and recruitment is concerned. It's just that COVID may not be the right time to institute that change.
Yeah, I think you're right, Elliot. That would be my feeling too, is that ordinarily we would like to be very inclusive of people in our community if we can handle the numbers. But at this point, I think the Delta strain fear that still exists within our own membership.
Harry, do you have any comments on that from, I mean, if we're outside, my feeling is the risk is minimal, but maybe you know better.
Were you asking?
You're on mute.
I was asking Harry.
I know
Oh.
Harry's on mute.
Sorry about that. I was just saying, I agree with what Elliot said. I mean, putting COVID aside, I think it should be inclusive, but the problem is we can't put COVID aside right now. And I think it's probably not the time this year to do that.
Yeah, and I think especially, I think what makes this different than other outdoor events is the food and the food handling. For the show, we're putting a lot of thought into it and really limiting what we do and being careful about it. Whereas for, you know, picnic, it's very.
But my understanding was that foodborne transmission was not considered to be an important vector. I don't know, again,
I think it's mainly, I think, that if we're congregating in a group and we're close together, and I mean, we know who we are, and I think if it just doesn't seem like the time is right this year to try to reach out and, you know, have others join us.
Conservative, approaching it from a conservative perspective gives us, you know, it helps to maintain a sense of calm within the group. One of the items in my report had to do with the poll that we did regarding wearing masks. If we had to come back in, when we have to come back indoors for rehearsals, would guys be comfortable not having a mask and rehearsing without masks? And half of the guys said no, and the other half said yes. And then the question was, okay, are you okay rehearsing indoors if you're wearing a mask, but somebody else isn't wearing a mask, and half of the guys said yes, and the other half of the guys said no. So we have this interesting situation where we're gonna need to come back indoors here in the not too distant future. It's either gonna be too friggin' cold, or it's gonna, or the, La Nina might give us some rain, all right?
That would be nice.
So I don't know how to approach this other than maybe we have to revert back to everybody wearing a mask when we're indoors on the risers, because the guys who would be opposed to it might not show up, and then we're down half a chorus. So I don't know how to, I don't know what the rest of the board thinks on this. This is sort of a subject that was on my mind to get some input on.
Yeah, and there's no right answer. It's a matter of how much risk. Basically, we have like 4 pillars, you might say, of defense against COVID. There's the vaccine, which is the most important. We got that. There's masks, there's social distancing, and there's ventilation. And, outside ventilation for sure. And we have the vaccine. So we've got 2 out of the 4. And well, distancing, we're not shoulder to shoulder exactly, but we're not that far apart. And some people wear masks outside, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a choice too. But it's just a question. It really is a matter of risk, the amount of risk that one wants to accept. The risk is not 0, but it's something.
Yeah.
And each person has their level of tolerance to that risk.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a friend who 2 weeks ago decided to take his family to LA for a 50th wedding anniversary. He came back, he was vaccinated, his wife was vaccinated. He came back being positive, his wife is now positive, and he has a cold, not bad, but a cold. She has flu-like symptoms.
Yeah, I think more and more of us are hearing about breakthrough cases, and this vaccines, the antibody levels drop off over time. And there's 2 branches to the immune system. We're not going a lot of a lecture about it, but we have the antibodies, and then we have cellular immunity. If you have the circulating antibodies and enough of them, if you get the virus in you, the antibodies will hopefully just neutralize. It can enter any cells and do anything, so you don't have any symptoms at all. If the antibody levels drop, you still have that cellular immunity will kick in a little later and hopefully prevent you from getting seriously ill or hospitalized, but you still will get sick and have some symptoms. But
Thank you,
there are
Harry.
people that get seriously ill too, but not too often if they're fully vaccinated. But it's again, it's not 0 risk. It can happen.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, what I'm going to do is make a proposal for a motion that we limit the picnic attendance to Peninsulaires and their families for abundance of caution.
I'll second that.
Okay, and any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand.
Are you talking about, wait a minute, are you talking about rescinding invitations that have already been made?
I guess we have to do that if we're going to be specific.
I would I think I would vote no on that.
Can we amend this to
Sending out a note.
no,
Don't rescind, just don't remind.
don't remind.
Don't remind.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
And if
If they come, they come. It's not going to kill us.
John?
I only have one, who's commented so far, and I didn't resend the information. So I can do this. I mean, I can say, that this is the board decision. I have no problem with that. So I think, but we do have to figure out, what we're gonna do. I mean, what are the limits? So, and I will, whatever happens, based on the vote, I'll do what I need to do.
Let me ask a question of the rest of the board members. Has anyone else on the board invited a non-Peninsulaire or family member to the event?
I invited Michael Noor. I don't think he's going to come for reasons I explained to you, but I would sort of prefer not to rescind the invitation.
I invited my quartet the week after we first said we were going to open it up. That's three. Brian Healy, he hasn't been around, so I don't know. I mostly need to know what I'm doing with my quartet, because it's either, if they aren't allowed to go, I'm probably going to go to a quartet rehearsal instead.
Right. That's the same day, by the way, of the next farmers market performance, the 18th.
Yeah.
All right. So is there a decision here as to how we word this? Do we saying we're having the discussion? We had a motion and a second, and the discussion has seemed to have revolved around whether or not to amend the motion. And so where are we on that?
I'm not sure what I moved to amend the motion to not remind, but
Well,
don't rescind. You don't have to rescind.
I think we have to vote on the first motion first and then go from there. And then if we want to then amend afterwards, I'm not a total Robert's Rules of Order guy, so I'm not 100% certain. I know we have something on the table, but I think we have to just make a decision on what's been put on the table before we can.
I think it's just if there's a motion on the table and then there's a motion to amend, you vote on the motion to amend and then you vote on the motion.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Dave.
So what's the motion to amend?
The motion to amend is I move to amend the proposal so that it does not require rescission of invitations already made, but we just don't remind them.
Okay. So that's what you're proposing?
Yes.
That's
Okay.
a motion, and we need a second and a vote on that, and then we go to the other one. Is that right, Dave Morley?
That's correct.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Wait, do we get any discussion?
Yes, we do,
Yes.
but after we second.
Okay.
Great.
So we've had a
Discussion?
motion and a second. Now it's open for discussion.
So the only thing I'm thinking is we should, if we were to go with something like that, we should be prepared for how we want to handle someone showing up who doesn't fit the profile that we feel should be invited.
Well, would we not generally inform any potential guests that there is a requirement that they be fully vaccinated? That's our primary requirement, right?
If we do that, then yeah.
That's
I
sort
think
of
that would
reminding.
largely cover it.
Well, no, we're not sending out, but if you've invited if someone's been invited and they say, yeah, they're coming, then you say, don't forget, you need to be fully, so we assume you're vaccinated. Oh, well, I'm not. Well, then you got to rethink whether you're coming. But I'm not saying send out invitations to people who've not already said they're planning on being there.
Right. Yeah.
So we're saying
that's-
this is a vaccine required event, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's what we're talking about at the moment.
Yep.
But that's pretty much what it is for us anyway. If someone wants to come to our rehearsal, we're requiring that they be vaccinated.
So how do we word this now?
Well, I don't know that we need to change the wording of Mike O's. I think it's just an understanding that we have a protocol and it applies,
So people who show up, who've been invited, rather than rescinding the invitation, just let them show up and tell them, oh, by the way.
Yeah, that
You're-
sounds good to me.
Oh,
So that's a clarification.
Well, at the moment the invitees from Mike O and from John Wanless. Those are the only two people who have invited someone who's not a Peninsulaire. So I guess the question is,
and three from me.
and I'm sorry, and three from Mike C. So
Yeah.
so the question in my mind is, does this have any, what we're talking about right now, have any specific impact on the people that you have already reached out to? Michael, John, or Mike C?
As I say, the one that I invited, I don't think he's going to come. So it's mostly a theoretical question. Except I would sort of prefer not to have to explicitly uninvite him.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would have to uninvite somebody because she is particularly asked for the details, and she's going to be on this side of the bay. She lives in the East Bay, and she asked me for the details and if her husband could come since they're both going to be here.
Okay.
Are they vaccinated?
So, well, yeah, wouldn't,
I don't know. I didn't ask that. Okay.
Well,
so that would be the thing to do rather than rescind.
No, wait. No.
And you wouldn't want her to come that distance
Wait.
and then say, oh, sorry, so I think.
Go ahead, John.
John,
So I can certainly, as a condition in the details, say we require full vaccination.
Exactly.
That's part of the details of what's required here, right? The second choice is, I say we are limiting this to, Peninsulaires and their families. That's the other option. Those
Right.
are the options that I have.
Yes.
No, I suggest just put in the details that.
Well, that's what we're looking at. The motion that's on the table is to not rescind an invitation. If you're not rescinding an invitation, then providing the specifics as to what our COVID protocol is part of letting them know. And if you're not vaccinated, that's a challenge. That's their challenge. Okay. So, so the motion on the table that we have to vote on right now was the amendment to the information about the picnic, that it's going to be it's intended for Peninsulaires and family, and anyone who has already been invited, we won't rescind the invitation, but we're not going to invite anybody else that has not yet received an invitation. That's my understanding of the motion that's on the table. Is that correct? Okay,
Well,
so we have.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say that what I officially said was that that we wouldn't remind them, but I don't know if I can amend my own amendment.
I thought you said that you didn't want to rescind.
I said I didn't want to rescind, but I didn't want to remind. But after the discussion, I would take away the second part if people want to remind them in order to.
okay.
No, whatever. Okay, understood. All right. So it's sort of like, so for Paul Prudenthal's benefit, the motion on the table right now that we are going to vote on is that to amend the Dana's motion to include that we would not rescind invitations already made, nor remind those, oh God, I've confused myself.
just limited to only people that have already been invited and Peninsulaires and Peninsulaires family.
Yeah.
Yes, there we go. Okay,
So
thank you, Mike.
Are we implicitly assuming that they are aware of our protocol?
No, you can communicate out the protocol to them.
I think you should. Yeah.
I think you should, yes.
Yes.
Okay. That
No
makes
surprises.
it clear. All right.
Okay,
So the
so we have to
amendment
vote on that amendment.
amendment. Okay, all in favor of that amendment as stated, raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, the amendment is passed. So now we need to vote on the original,
The amended motion.
The
The
amended motion.
original, yeah, the original motion as amended.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so we've already had so we need to have a second for that, I think. Do we not?
I think we voted in second. You moved and seconded already, didn't
Yeah,
we? And
it's
then we
already
got
been
in it.
seconded.
It was during the discussion that we came up with
Okay,
this
all
need.
right.
Okay.
So then all we need to vote now is for the amended proposal.
Correct.
Remind me what the motion is then. As amended.
The motion is to limit the invitation to the picnic to Peninsulaires, their families, and those who have been invited at this point,
Okay.
but with the conditions communicated to those who have been
Good.
invited.
Okay,
Yes.
So all in favor of that motion, raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, that complicated amendment and proposal is now
Have
on
fun,
the books.
Paul.
And Good luck, Paul. Good luck, Paul. for putting that in the
At
minutes.
least it's
We'll
been
help you.
recorded.
Oh, that's
So the first vote was for the rescinding, but the second vote
We
was
had,
the original motion, which was
as amended.
You know,
as amended.
yeah.
The first motion was for there to be an amendment to the original motion, and the second one was motion as amended.
I'm just gonna put down one motion. And the final result is that,
Yeah, the final result. That'd be fine, Paul.
so
Yeah,
it's limited to attendance to members and families and their families, plus guests who have already been invited.
that's fine.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's good. That works.
all
And
right.
who seconded that first amendment?
I think it was John Wanless.
That you seconded the amendment.
I seconded to Mike O, and I think John Wanless seconded to Dana's original thing. I think. I don't know for sure.
That's close enough.
Close enough. All right.
Okay.
Wow, glad that's over.
Well,
Better
at least
have
I
one
learned
awesome
that-
Well, I'm gonna run for Congress now.
I've learned that motions go on a stack and not through a typo.
And I'm starting to feel a different type of motion coming my way.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, guys. Well, let's thank you, Dave, for your report. So now we need to approve the
Accept the reports.
Accept the reports.
I move we accept the reports.
Second.
All right, all in favor, raise your hands. All right, they're done.
Whew.
All right, so I think in the new business area, mask protocols, I think we've already stated that they're not changing. And as long as we're outside, we don't require masks. But when we go inside, at this point, we have to wear masks to satisfy
Right.
needs. Okay. Now, the next item on new business is actually a special recruiting opportunity that I want to bring before the board. Mike C. and I talked about 2 weeks ago about the possibility of inviting VIH into a discussion, because at this point they are down in numbers below their critical mass. And so I agreed to start this conversation. And so we had a conversation last Sunday with Greg Koskovich, who's the president of VIH, and Curtis Manna, their director. And so the discussion went along, you know, what are our goals, each of us? What would we like to see if we combine or merge the two organizations together? And so what I want to also let everybody know is that VIH guys, they took a poll and they overwhelmingly agreed that they wanted to join another chorus. And so that chorus, the only one on the table right now is us.
Could you be more specific? Did they vote to join individually as a, or as a chapter? I mean,
Dana, I can answer that.
Please.
So they didn't vote per se. They ran a survey, and there were 3 questions on the survey. Question 1 was, do you want to continue as their status quo? Their status quo being they have 6 to 10 singers per every Tuesday night, not on risers at a church in a circle. That's their status quo. So that was option 1. Option 2 was to basically to quote unquote join another chorus. The wording was specifically vague, like in terms of like, is it a merge? Is it a shut down and reapply to another course? But like join another men's course. The third option was to open their membership to women. According to Greg, who had the results, 90% voted for option 2, which was to quote unquote join another course. That's the details of the survey. So there's no vote. There's no, like, to my understanding, there's no vote. There's no formal like shutdown or transfer or merger. But what I think what Dana and I are reading into it is that they have a large interest in moving a number of members to Peninsulaires in some structure. Does that make sense?
So, so my thought on something like this is, if someone from another singing group is interested in joining the Peninsulaires, then I would be happy to have them come visit, check us out, us check them out, and go through the process and say, yay, verily, let's, get this party started. I would be personally challenged with the idea of an entity merger, because in every business merger that I've been involved with in 45, 50 years worth of business activity, it's a disaster, because everybody has their idea as to who should run what and all that kind of crap. If somebody wants to become a member of our organization, I'm open arms. Let's do it. Have them come and, visit. Even if 8 people come at one time to sit down and see what we're all about, they, as individuals, may end up not being comfortable with our structure, and vice versa. We always have to have, when anybody comes to visit us, we have to say, yeah, okay, hey, we want this guy or we don't want this guy. So that would be my approach to it, for what it's worth.
Any
Mr.
other
Morley?
Dave Morley?
I couldn't agree more. If they want to come individually, boy, let them come, and we have an open arms, and we want them to join us. But as far as merger, or as we have our own personality as a chapter, and we've had it for 50 years, and I'm happy with that personality. And if they want to come and join us, boy, let them come. But that would be my position.
Can I add some stuff? Sorry, Dana.
Paul?
Well, if 1 or 2 people came, it's one thing, but if 6 or 8 people showed up from VIH who are a legitimate chorus, and they have things that we might want to, consider, I mean, there's no reason to, be close to the idea of taking on new ideas and stuff. But we
No, agreed. But that becomes organic rather than some sort of structural adjustment to who we are. It becomes an organic evolution.
Exactly. exactly. There'll be some changes. If 8 people from VIH show up and they have suggestions, I mean,
That's plus 40% membership right now.
Yeah. Mike,
Okay,
Mike,
sorry.
Mike O.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say that yeah, I think I agree kind of with everything that's been said here, right? I mean, I want us to stay a BHS chapter. I don't want us to go and do something else, right? But on the other hand, I don't want to say, well, we're just going to do things our way and we're not going to listen to you either, right?
Right. Mike
Good.
C?
Yeah, I've thought a lot about this because I've actually been through 3 unsuccessful mergers and takeovers and stuff like that just in the Bay Area. So
Are you, Mike, are you talking about Coral type stuff or are you
I'm
talking about business?
no, I'm talking about Coral. I'm talking about
Okay.
BHS Coral. I've observed how a split from Walnut Creek caused both Bay Area Metro and Walnut Creek to become unsuccessful. I've observed how the merger of San Jose and VIH first started strong and then collapsed, and I've observed how the removal of a number of guys from VIH to form Fog City caused VIH to collapse. I think our number one goal is, and our mission for the foreseeable future should be like let's do something that makes barbershops survive in the South Bay. That should be our overriding mantra. I would observe that we are a 20-man chorus, and I can see medical and aging out scenarios where we lose 5 members in the next year. Quite honestly. That is a very risky thing. You guys have seen me pounding the drum in terms of like large like, you know, like we've got to figure out recruiting. We've got to get some folks in the door. To date, we have been unsuccessful. So that's the first starting point. So I'm coming into this as a member. I have no board responsibility, no board authority, but I definitely think about this. I believe that if we suddenly had 6 VIH singers show up on the door, I think that's a risk to us. If we do not have some sort of plan structure in place, if we just say, oh, we're going to pick and choose which one of you guys we like. I think there's the possibility of losing members, or losing potential guests. I would favor structuring structuring this as a takeover. Why is that? The first is because it forces us to formalize what is the relationship and how many guys are we actually talking about on a daily basis. It forces us to work through the scenario of what happens when 8 strong singers come to the door and driving, consciously revisiting cultural aspects and things like that. I believe that there's a greater risk if we say, okay, you're welcome to show up 1s and 2s, and we do not have clear expectations on what the culture is, what the volunteer organization is, what the competition aspirations are, versus oh, we'll just figure it out. Plus 40% members is a big risk in terms of not having it figured out on day one. I do think a takeover strategy is if there is any form of formal structure, I believe the takeover strategy is the most structured. I agree with you guys. I think we have strong cultural elements that we want to make sure are enforced and we do not lose day one. Realistically, those folks will be coming in man for man stronger singers. They would expect a higher level of music program, that sort of stuff. That is a blessing and a curse to us. Or there's a pro and con to that. That's a better way of saying it. The other part is they don't have a lot of assets, but they have some assets. Most specifically, they have a music library that probably represents thousands of dollars in terms of procured music, procured learning tracks, things like that. That is probably the only asset of interest or in play. But there is an asset piece to this. The last piece is an observation that co-directorship is a model that's gaining a lot of traction and interest among a lot of BHS chapters. An observation is that Curtis Manna, their director, and I are extremely complementary in skills. We have worked together from a coaching perspective. He's a singing technician. I'm a performance guy. Those are very complementary skills. Both he and I have interest and have talked about what would it look like if there were two directors for Peninsulaires. And I want you guys to think about that, be open to that. That is something of interest, both from my current position and from my thing. Like, I am very open to that conversation, as is he. So that's another piece in play. That's another piece for consideration. And I'll leave the floor now. Thank you, guys.
Hey, Mike, you talked about culture. Can we maybe discuss a little bit about that? I thought that the culture that the Peninsulaires have, especially with you as our director, is moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And so how is that? How would that have to change?
That's a really good question, and thanks for asking that. There are I think there are four pillars that I would look at in terms of cultural, and you could almost gauge each organization on those levels. Music program. VIH has a strong, even with fewer singers, they have a stronger music program because they have more experienced singers at a higher level. We are on a path, but like man for man, they are more experienced musicians right now. Administrative execution excellence, board, that sort of stuff. Very clearly, Peninsulaires has a much stronger culture on that front. That is something we absolutely do not want to lose. Foundations of chapter health. That's number two. Number three is volunteerism and culture of volunteerism. Peninsulaires has a much stronger culture of volunteering, of everybody contributes, that sort of stuff. And then number four is like financial, assets, liabilities, incomes, expenses, that sort of stuff. Peninsulaires is much stronger on that front as well. We have money in the bank. We have money coming in. The music program. The one thing that we are stronger on is we are actually doing public shows. BIH has no plans or intention to do public show for the foreseeable future. Dana, does that answer your question?
I think so. Any other questions about that to Mike?
Yeah.
John?
So I want to make a comment. I've been with the Peninsulaires a long time. And one of the things that scares me about this is that the splitters, all right? So that means the function becomes who's good enough to do certain things versus who's not good enough to do other things. And I think that to me is extremely dangerous. The rationale that I've seen in all of these things is that the group of more proficient, more professional singers split off from the rest of us and leave us with a very difficult job in establishing barbershop for people who are not quite as proficient as the other people. And I think that has happened in every single case. The newer choruses have always split off, take the guys that they want, skim the cream off the top, and leave defunct or nearly defunct organizations, which then have to be built up. The strong point of the Peninsulaires is that it has managed to survive those kinds of things. All right. Now, what I am extremely concerned about is that we get the same people who have develop these splits involved in the chapter and can develop another split. Rather than passing on barbershop, it's become something where the excellence means that you become more exclusive. And so that, to me, is extremely worrisome.
Thank you, John. Dave Marley.
Mike, see, you use the word takeover.
Mhm.
What, could you define takeover? Who's
Yeah.
taking over who?
Yeah, it would be a takeover of Peninsulaires, or no, I'm sorry, let me say this right. Peninsulaires would take over VIH. Would take the VIH assets and structure would fold into Peninsulaires. It would not be the other way around. Specific reasons for that is historically, in my experience, the older chapter is the one that stays on. We are 73 years to 48 years, something like that for San Jose. So like from a logistics perspective, what would actually happen is that the charter for the San Jose chapter would, the Bay Area chapter, I guess is what, it's still San Jose chapter, like on the documents, but the charter for the San Jose chapter would be released back to Far Western District. Far Western District would take the charter and keep it open for 503C purposes. And then, but all the assets would be transferred over to Peninsulaires. All the details of the organization would be kept open, but they would be shut down. They would be become defunct. It gets into like legal and incorporation details. That's why I explicitly said takeover.
Okay, and I think John Wanless raised really good points. We were split away years and years ago to create BAM, and we survived. And the people who left had a goal to be number 1, 2, or 3 in international and in competition. I think we need to discuss as a board, what is our goal? My personal goal is not to be number 1, 2, or 3, or even top 5 in international. My goal is to sing as best as I can and to continue to improve and to compete in the Far Western District every single time. And but my goal is not to work as hard as VM or in some of the top 5 choruses in the nation. My goal is to improve, and I'm not sure that's the same goal as VIH.
Quite honestly, they don't have a goal right now.
Well, but I think that's why they split. They wanted to be, those are the top singers, and I admire them. I mean, I've sung with them before because many of them used to be Peninsulaires, and they left us in order to join a better chorus so they could be, to win international.
Competitive aspirations.
If
yes.
We could all agree that our goal is to continue to learn and be good singers and perform well, but not to compete so that we win international.
I agree 100%.
Dave?
Let me jump in and address John's because that is a super point, and I completely agree with John. I think there's actually a bigger risk of split dissatisfaction, internal strife, if these are not figured out early. If we do not have clear culture and clear cultural expectations when we say plus 40% members, I think we could get really confusing signals, really confusing messages, and cause dissatisfaction on both sides of the membership. I think it's important to get it sorted out before we just say you can come on in as individuals.
Larry? You're muted. Larry,
I just unmuted. I just wanted to opine for just a sec. I've been around not necessarily as a member, but I've been around the Peninsulaires all my life, basically. I was around when the split, bunch of guys left the Peninsulaires and formed BAM. I remember a lot of discussions around that. I remember a lot of animosity. Now we're looking at a different culture, right? What we're talking about here is a chapter that decided they wanted to up their game, and they rode that wave for several years. And then they had a split. A bunch of them went and formed Fog City, right? We're only talking 6 to 10 guys that are current members of VIH that probably just want to sing somewhere. And whether they are younger, actual musicians with training, I don't see how that could hurt the Peninsulaires. I'm thinking in terms of, hey, let's get a few more voices up here. Why not? How could it hurt? And do we really have to draw a line saying, well, if you join our chorus, these are the rules? I don't think so. I think there are just guys out there that would like to sing, and why not open our arms to them?
Okay.
I would hope, from just as a comment to Larry's point, I would hope that that would be the perspective. Though we have had at least one, maybe two members in our chapter who were co-members in VIH, and there was internal pressure on us to create a structure that said there is a level below which we can't have people either singing with us or performing with us at events and things like that. So there was an effort to try to have more of that kind of the higher level, more professional singing thing. If that's what the Peninsulaires want to do, then that's okay. Okay. If that's not what the Peninsulaires as an organization want to do, I am hopeful that someone who joins us from the VIH, where it's going down, is not joining us because they don't want to drive all the way to San Francisco to be with a chorus as good as Fog City. They want to try to recreate the Peninsulaires to be what VIH was at one point when they went international and won a bronze medal. Because there is not that sense of desire within the Peninsulaires that I've ever observed. I've only been around 17 years. I didn't see the thing with Bay Area Metro. I saw the thing when we split off to when VIH was created. So that's the only one that I have been personally involved with. But like I said earlier, I've been involved with untold number of corporate acquisitions, mergers, structures, purchases. Never seen it go well. 10 of them, none of them have gone well. And I am less than thrilled about experiencing that sort of thing again in my hobby. But I'm just,
Okay.
That's it.
Thanks, Dave. Well, it sounds like there's a.
Harry, Elliot, both have hands up.
Oh,
Yeah.
Elliot?
If I could just say, I've been around for 2 years, yes, with the Peninsulaires, and not aware of the big picture and the history and all of that, but I know that I'm very appreciative that when I joined, how open and how welcoming the Peninsula was to somebody like me who had no vocal training at all, and has enabled me to enjoy this hobby and improve, and the community chorus where everybody doesn't have to be a professional level singer, and I hope that culture would continue. I really appreciate that I've been able to be part of it.
Thank you, Harry. Elliot?
Yeah, so I agree with Harry. I also agree with Larry. I think, maybe there's sort of some happy medium where we really know our culture, who we are, who we want to be. And I think, I've been hearing that from John, from Harry. And at the same time, if we make who we are clear as part of them joining us, and at the same time recognize their excellence and look to them, because we're also in the process of trying to improve our game. We're not on this, do or die, we need to make it to international. But we are actively working on improving ourselves while maintaining this open policy. And if we can recognize their excellence and challenge them to, amongst us, help pull the others up, I don't know, maybe there's some kind of happy medium. I don't know.
I agree with that.
Yeah, Paul,
Yeah, I agree.
Paul,
When that fella Chris was over here, he directed us one night. It was really great, I thought he was really great, and it was helpful. And I don't know if it'd be worth thinking about, but maybe we should meet with them and discuss all our concerns and see what comes up.
how about that?
That sounds like a committee thing. Yeah. Does that sound like, several of our guys meeting with whomever? Right now, it's been Mike C. and Dana have had a conversation with somebody. And I don't know whether that involved all of the group, of the other group, or just a couple of individuals. But maybe, we need a committee that involves a variety of perspectives. I would strongly recommend that Mr. Wanless be part of that committee, and I would certainly be willing, and maybe Harry as a newer member, and then Dana, our president.
Yeah, at this point.
Or anybody on the board. I mean, we could all do it.
Keep it small for the first meeting, I would think.
Yeah, so let's back up a little bit. I think what Greg and Curtis are looking for is just the next step. Are we willing to entertain this at all? Those guys joining us with any kind of flavor, and then how the details will be worked out would be the next step. So I think for us to express an interest in having them join us in some form would be step one. And then the step two would be how do we integrate new people within? Do we do it like Dave K suggested, where they just come as individuals, get to know us and go through the routine, or do we have a group acceptance? That kind of discussion.
And might we be hesitant? Are we hesitant to invite or create a group event because maybe their culture and our culture might clash?
No, I don't think so.
I'm trying to wrap my head around what I'm feeling as a culture clash thing. I believe there are guys there that want to sing somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, if there are, then why haven't they come over and visited us?
Maybe
Well,
because we
some
haven't
have.
invited
They
them.
have. They have.
Some have, yes.
A couple have. A couple of people have.
My quartet has come a couple times. That's 3 of 8 of their active members, by the way.
I know that.
Oh, by the
Mike,
way, yeah.
was it Bloom? What's his name?
Matt Bloom.
Matt Bloom. And it's just like I understand Larry's perspective on that. I am hopeful that is correct. I think as individuals, that might be a true statement. I am not as close to the group at all I mean, the Peninsulaires went and we did a joint show with them at one point, and we did, visited one time. I don't know that as a group, there's a different dynamic when people get into a group environment. It's a different mentality than when they do something as an individual.
Right.
I don't know that the group dynamic is as Larry has expressed. I understand, and I probably would agree that the individual dynamic is that. And this potential culture clash is a group cultural thing as opposed to an individual cultural thing.
And I think, Mike, when you went through the survey that I guess Greg or Curtis presented to,
Greg sent it out and emailed us effectively a summary of the details.
And what you said was the majority.
Yeah, Greg said 90% of the response voted to merge with another course.
Oh, it was the term merge was used in that.
That's what he wrote.
Okay.
I can go back and look at the original survey because I do think it's important to see like what exactly was said. My understanding of what they were sending out was we want to sing with another course without using the word merge.
Yeah, because if it's that, then there's a potential for 6 to 10 guys that just want to come and sing and join the Peninsulaires. And it's simple.
Yeah,
which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm laughing inwardly because if only there were an event coming up in a couple weeks where there was the possibility of a mixer with 6 to 10 other singers, three of which have already been invited.
Are they vaccinated?
My 3 are. I think one of the 8 is not, and so we would explicitly exclude one.
Well, Matt Bloom is not a member of your quartet, but Matt is on the candidacy track for the Peninsulaires, and there's no reason
he hasn't been there in 3 months. So
no, I understand this because he's been on the East Coast, but my understanding is that he's recently returned. Okay.
He's supposed to be there next week.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the only reason he wasn't with us is because he was gone.
He's not one of the VIH guys anymore. He's not. He hasn't been attending their rehearsals in 2 years. So
2 years?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's been a long time that he's not been out of the barbershop track. I wouldn't consider him a VIH guy, an active VIH guy. I've gone to 2 of their rehearsals over the last 3 months, by the way, because my quartet was doing something. So. Yeah, I got a very clear sense. By the way, they're also rehearsing in Palo Alto. I don't know how many folks know that. And that causes me concern because like that's basically our backyard.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to circle the wagons here. The next step, can we say to Greg and to Curtis that we're definitely interested in having their guys join us?
I think, Dana, you said something a little bit earlier that made sense to me, and that is indicating that we're open to the next level of assessment as to what this means. But I think that means a further conversation with whatever level of organizational structure they have with other members of the Peninsulaires Board. I think we need maybe there's only 1 or 2 people in that. I don't know. I know nothing about VIH. They may have a 6-member board of directors that makes up 6 of the 8 members that are part of their group. Okay.
They have 2 board members right now. They have,
like I said, I have
treasurer. Right.
Which is fine. Yeah. But if they have 2 board members, then their board needs to meet with some of the members of our board beyond just Dana to have these kinds of conversations, because there is an organizational element that needs to be validated and verified. And then we would move forward with that next level of invitation. Paul Frudenthal has a question.
No, not a question. I'd like to, if I can, make a motion that Dave and Mike form a small committee and talk to their small committee.
I don't think I should be on the committee, by the way.
Okay, well, Dave, maybe Dave and
I would say Dana, myself, and John Wanless, and, at least those three, but if we need a fourth, no less than the three of us, but if we need 4 or 5, John, are you okay with this? By the way, I'm volunteering you. I don't.
That's a good volunteer thing. Yeah, I think that, I'm interested in if this happens, making it work. And I'm the one thing that I absolutely will not support is the fact that we're going to have an elite and a non-elite membership, and that
Right.
we are not in the habit of trying to pass on our hobby rather than provide individual excellence for somebody. So that to me is, and I would be happy to state that, it's, yeah. So the answer is yes, I'd be willing, but that's my big concern.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd like to, maybe if Elliot wants to, put Elliot in, so that'd be 4 of you guys. Is that, or however you want to do it, but then make the motion so that you proceed and to the next step with that.
So let's say the motion is that Dana appoint a committee to have a meeting with the members of the board of the VIH to discuss possibilities, and just leave it as vague as that. And then Dana, you can just figure out how many of us you want to have join you.
Okay. That sounds like a.
So is that your
so.
motion, Paul?
Yes, that's it.
I second.
Any discussion?
So this isn't about the motion per se. I just wanted to express at some point that, I'm super agree with Dave Morley, maybe more so. I'm like, I'm honestly not that interested in competition per se. I'm willing to do it because you've got to hold up the team, but I don't care if we win. That said, I think the idea of having 6 new great singers is really, really exciting. So that's all I have to say about it.
Cool.
Thank you. Cool. So all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, so the motion is passed for me to pull together a team to meet with VIH team. At this point, I'll ask Greg to pick who he wants to meet with us. I'll get to each of you guys within the next day or so. And I will connect with Greg and tell him that that's what we want to do, that we want to have a meeting with a small group from each side to discuss how we move ahead.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see, Mike C, do you have any other comments you'd like to make?
Yeah, I think I was just thinking about this. I'd like to take a minute and just kind of clarify like my role and my position in this conversation, because I think it's super important. So as a director, I'm not on the board. We all know that. Also, you guys should know 100% my responsibility is to this chapter. You are the guys. You are the guys paying me. You are the guys. I'm working with you guys week in and week out, and like that's where 100% of my loyalty lies. As an artistic director, there is a piece of like.
Now you should be able to get it open.
I'm already done.
Oh, you're done? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was on mute. I apologize.
You're good. As artistic director, I have to admit I'm salivating and having 6 more solid singers on the risers. But most importantly, to me, it's that I was talking with Chris Aber after our coaching session with him, and we were talking about general health of barbershop, both in the division and across the society. And like, quite honestly, like the society as a whole is in kind of a make or break scenario. We've got to be playing to strengths. We've got to be like we have been too insular. We have been too quiet, and for too long. Once you throw in a global pandemic, I think a third of the chapters in the society are going to close in the next 2 years. Like it's to that level of like we're in challenge. Okay, so my core goal is for Peninsulaires to be the gateway drug to barbershop. Like that's what I would love to see us be. The gateway drug to barbershop can be up to a 75 score in contest. So there doesn't have to be an either or in terms of you can be a rock solid performance and singing organization and still be very inviting to a guy off the street that can sing in tune with a pleasant sound. So I want to make that very clear. If you guys said we want to be, we have competitive aspirations, we want to break that 80 bar, then we could have that conversation. But like and I am going with you wherever you guys go as far as I am capable of going. So I want you guys to really hear that, like, it's for me, it's about the Peninsulaires, it's about the strength of the Peninsulaires, it's about building and growing and accelerating what we've established over the last 18 months. So yeah, and mostly I want to see us not the Bay Area barbershop has been a mess for the 20 years I've been in it. All these splits and merges and everything else. This is why I keep saying we can't just kind of like rehash the same 30 guys into different pies. We've independent of this, like this is the possibility of a springboard to say, hey, we're doing something bigger. Let's get some of the guys that are on the sidelines. Let's get some of the younger guys that have stepped away. Like there's an opportunity to say, like, no, it's not just about VIH and Peninsulaires. It's about doing something bigger, more sustainable, more impressive. So, but still being inviting to the community because that's who we are today. So that's what I got. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Mike. Well, let's go to good of the order. Dave Morley.
Boy, I could just second what Mike just said. I mean, I'm all for building barbershop, and if we score a 75, boy, that'd be wonderful. And as I said earlier, I'm not in it to score a 90, but I want to improve and continue, and I also don't want to, as John has said, we want to include people who maybe haven't had a musical background and teach them how to sing. Because boy, music and singing has been a real important part of my life for my entire life. And I want to share that with others. So, you know, and if we can add 6 more members that are good singers that would like to have a goal of performing 75 on the Far Western District, I'm all for it.
Thank you, Dave. John.
Okay, so on a positive note, my quartet and I, Vocal Capital, we went out and we had a wonderful time singing to people, live people, you know, no masks, you know, just having a great old time. And, you know, it reminds me of how much I miss the interaction, you know, with people. I think that, you know, this has been a particularly, you know, bad time because of you know, the social situation and not being able to interact, and how great it is to see people smile at what you're doing and enjoy what you're doing. So I was really particularly happy, and I'm looking forward to doing that, you know, as a chorus as well.
Thank you, John. Paul.
Well, I've been having something that I've always looked forward to, and that's working in a quartet. And we don't have a name yet, really, but we've been meeting, and it's really something. It's an experience, and it's been great. So that's been great for me, and it's nice to have the chorus, you know, the chorus back together and in person, and hopefully inside pretty soon. It's getting pretty cold. So that's it.
Thanks, Paul. Mike Oliver.
Yeah, I just want to say, you know, how much I love singing with you all, and feel like I'm improving personally, which is a lot of fun. I feel like we're improving even more collectively, which is amazing. And as I say, you know, I've never been that focused on competition. I just want to get up and sing as well as I can, and have the group sound as good as it can, and have people enjoy us. If we do go to competition and do well, that's not a bad thing. And yeah, I just want to express that this is, you know, this is an amazing part of my life, and I'm so grateful to be with the Peninsulaires.
Thank you, Mike. Dave K.
So the last couple of Thursday night rehearsals have been for me really interesting, because I've seen a level of intensity. I'm going to use that word, intensity, and from the guys as they're doing what we're doing on the risers, and from where I've been standing, and I try to move around a little bit sometimes during the day, I'm hearing a better sound from the chorus for a longer sustained periods than I've heard for a long time. So I'm thrilled with how we're making some progress. We certainly have a way to go to be able to pull off the show on the 23rd, but I got to say that we're just, it's just so cool. It's so rewarding. And I then have to, and secondly, I got to echo John's comments, because man, boy, did we have a good time last night. It was Friday evening in Los Altos. There were hundreds and hundreds of people out, you know, having dinner at restaurants, and there was a little teenage fashion show thing that was going on at one street, and everywhere we stopped and sang, we drew a crowd, you know, anywhere from 5 to 12 people. And it was just amazing. And there were some challenges because they had 16 other groups performing, and they were all bands that had amplification and electric guitars and things. And so you had to find a place where we could be heard. But boy, did we have a fabulously wonderful time, and it was just great. So I'm thrilled to be doing that again.
Thanks, Dave. Elliot.
Yeah, so in terms of the chorus, I also am really noticing a difference. Like when I just hearing the chords and the notes and the harmonies in different tunes that we do that didn't used to stand out for me very much, and now they do. And I just appreciate our sound a lot more than I used to. So I really think we're getting better. I think we're on a good track. And I also think this board is really great. I thought we had some really good discussions today, and I think we're making good and well thought through decisions. So I'm proud to be part of this board.
Thank you, Elliot. Me too. I'm proud to be part of this. Harry.
Yeah, well, I continue to be impressed that with all of the challenges, the pandemic and everything, that we've not only survived, but we have improved and continue to improve. And that's really exciting. And I know I've improved personally too, and which gives me more enjoyment, and I feel like I'm contributing to the chorus. I'm not oriented toward competitions and how well we do. I mean, it's fine if we do well, but I just enjoy singing with the group, and I'm comfortable that we can do it fairly safely being outside, and I hope we can continue to do that. You know, I'm from the Midwest. What they call winter out here isn't really, you know, I'm going to get my thermal undershirt or whatever, and I'll be fine. But, you know, I feel it's, as long as we can, it's safer out there than inside.
Thanks, Harry. And Larry.
I'm the lucky guy that records our rehearsals every week and then spends several hours reviewing, editing, and then presenting to the chorus for review. We have progressed so much in just the last 3 rehearsals that I'm blown away. I'm absolutely blown away at how we're locking those chords, how we're sounding. Everything about us is getting better and better. Why? Well, we got a show coming, so you know it's time to crap or get off the pot, right? But we're progressing. This is a good thing. We are excited about a show coming, and it's a lot of fun. I'm having a ball on our Thursday nights, and I just love looking forward to it and coming home and feeling that excitement. While my new quartet, Paul is part of that quartet, may not have a real name yet, that doesn't matter. But we do have our first gig on September 11th. 5 songs, 15, 20-minute set. I know that I'm nervous. I'm sure Paul is. I think the 4 of us are nervous about this first gig, but I'm looking forward to the opportunity and the potential of another Peninsulaires quartet, maybe singing on an opposite corner of Vocal Capital on a Friday night in Los Altos or somewhere else. I think it's going to be a blast. And that's all because of the Peninsulaires. So that's all I got for now. Great.
That's a lot. Larry, thank you so much for that encouragement. And for me, that's what it's all about. You guys encourage me each time we get together, each time we sing. I tend to be the kind of the quiet guy in the background, but you're motivating me to get out there and be more expressive and to speak my mind and to enjoy and emote while we sing. And over the 7 years that I've been with you guys, each year has been fantastic, and I appreciate the opportunity to sing with you guys every time. And Mike, have you got any last words? Or you?
Yeah, just one more thing, as you guys were saying. You guys know part of my mission over the last few months has been to get more barbershop in the community. I thought the farmers market was a fantastic outing for us. That it was mission accomplished in terms of showing that having some live music at an event. That was great. My quartet stuck around for about 45 minutes afterwards. Stood in the middle. People were giving tips and getting loud rounds of applause. The location didn't help us very much, but I did talk with one of the organizers afterwards, one of the board members, and she said that we'll get you in a better spot next time. But hearing the quartets, you know, getting out into the community, I think the number one thing we can do is to get barbershop into the community right now and fill a void that has been around for 18 months. So I love that the quartets are heading out. I love that the chorus is heading out. It's all awesome. Love it, guys. And I love you guys. You guys are doing great. I echo the thing about an effective board. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks,
Dana,
everybody.
could
Yes,
I
go
make a
ahead.
comment real quick? I just
Sure.
want to say something. Mike O, Elliot, and Harry had both made a comment about improvement and personal improvement. And as somebody that's around them regularly during the rehearsals, I have to say I echo that. I mean, each voice has been enhancing, and it happens on a weekly basis. And when something comes up and it's, then they in turn, they take whatever the communication and the coaching is from the director, from stuff that we heard from Chris or anybody, and it's just like, boom, it's right away. So kudos, guys. Well done. Awesome. It's a pleasure to be part of the group that, the section that you guys sing in. So thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
And we are now adjourned.
Right. Bye.
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 Thanks all.
Bye.